Are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But KSJE is now listener supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. Let me introduce my guest who is here with us today in the studio. Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett is back with us. Mayor, welcome back.
Good morning, Scott. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks.
Always excited to be here.
Well, thank you. You always accept my invitation, so I appreciate it very much when
absolutely.
I say, Mayor, come on the show. So you were in Santa Fe not too long ago. We saw a few mayor's tables. You moved your table all the way to Santa Fe.
We did.
And did a couple of shows from there. And I wanted to bring you on to kind of talk a little bit about what you found when you got to Santa Fe. It's always an experience.
Sure.
And what city residents and even county residents maybe should be watching and paying attention to as a legislative session now begins its last half, I think, of its 60-day session. So give me some idea of what you found. I mean, is there just the streets paved with gold? I mean, there's so much money in the state budget this year. There's a surplus.
I wish I could sit here, Scott, and tell you some positive things that I think are going on in Santa Fe. Unfortunately, when we have a particular set of legislators who have seen this surplus that was created by oil and gas as an opportunity to try and kill oil and gas.
That doesn't seem to make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. And I've used this analogy, in your own home with you and your partner. If one of you has a skill set that creates a lot of money for your income for your family, and then just all of a sudden you just say, we're just not going to do that anymore. Well, what are you going to do to replace that income? And that's really been the question when we talk about diversifying the economy, not just here locally, but statewide. What do you do when there's not coal production and coal mining and coal power plants and oil and gas production? What does the state do then? $2.2 billion was a record-setting year for oil and gas production last year, which created the surplus that is now being worked into a future budget where it's going to be recurring costs on something that's a surplus. How can you budget in a surplus? I mean, oil and gas goes up and down.
Right.
A surplus is more than the average, more than the normal. But what we're seeing going on right now is, unfortunately, Scott, for people who live in Northwest New Mexico, it's frightening because our way of life is being challenged. And we have to find a way to deal with that.
Right. And certainly we understand the need to diversify the economy. I mean, that's something you and I have talked about a number of times. You've talked about it.
Absolutely.
But this seems to be kind of a more urgent shift from the traditional economies that have helped this part of the state.
Well, I have this opinion about those who walk around all day long saying the sky is falling. And every morning they get up and they look in the mirror and they go, the earth is going to end and we must save it. Well, there's a lot of things that we need to save. And our concern, of course, here, when we talk about economy, we talk about people's ability to have a job where they feed their families, where they want to live in New Mexico, not just because it's a beautiful place to live and we have great outdoor recreation and a quality of life that you can't find in other places, but because they can make a living. So the other day I shared information on my Facebook page. It was an op-ed by a UNM college student who had basically said, I have to leave the state because there are not career opportunities for me here. And I think a lot of people read that and said, well, that's similar to what I did. I left and we came back. And I'm glad we came back. I love Farmington. I love the area that we live in. But you simply can't govern a state by taking away the things that drive money into your schools. 40% of all the oil and gas dollars that come into the state go directly to schools. And in the same other side of your mouth, you're talking about the need to raise teacher salaries and increase pre-K schooling across the state. Well, how are you going to pay for those things if people are sitting there saying we're going to stop fracking for 4 years?
Which is a proposal at the legislature.
Which is a proposal right now. So some of these bills that are coming across there, it's like shock and awe almost. And we have the feeling, of course, the majority of those won't go anywhere. There's always, I think they're going to hear like 2,000 bills in a 60-day session. So there's going to be a lot of things that don't happen. But it's just the fact that individuals who have been tasked with representing constituents that voted for them in these cities all across the state, that there's no way that their constituents want those things. Or they simply don't understand how the economy works in New Mexico.
Right, and how dependent the state budget is on this revenue from the oil and gas industry, which is a proven fact.
Exactly.
That we know.
That we know.
And so that concerns you, obviously.
I lose sleep over things like this because it just doesn't make any sense. And I don't know. Different people have different views, I guess, but I use a calculator and I like to talk about math, and I think math needs to be the driving force behind public policy more so than the sky is falling.
Sure.
Because the sky's been falling for a long time. When I was a kid, Time magazine put a thing out that said that the acid rain was going to kill the earth and the ozone was going to melt away and we were all going to die. And you go back to the Cold War. I mean, kids in schools were having nuclear, bomb
drills
in the schools. True. I mean, there seems to always be this push out there that the world is going to end and humankind is going to cause it. Well, I have no doubt that we play a part in a lot of the things that go on. But the way that it is just now, it is absolutely saturating people's lives and their minds. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of good things out there that we should be doing and can be doing that we're choosing not to do for one reason or another.
Right. But, so you're watching some of these bills that are going through that may or may not survive a committee process and get to a vote. But folks that are watching us and listening to us this morning, I mean, what should they be watching? I mean, you're very concerned about the power plant and those jobs.
Sure. So San Juan Generating Station is obviously a big concern. House Bill 489, Senate Bill, SB 489. It's a big omnibus bill that was presented by Senator Candelaria.
80 pages or something.
It's 80 pages long. And in that bill, and I think you and Warren talked about this
just yesterday. Warren Unzicker was here.
And there's a lot in this bill. And I mean, one of the things, they were trying to make concessions for San Juan County, for Central Consolidated Schools, in providing some sort of assistance because they want to close the plant. Or P&M wants to close the plant.
Right.
So the state legislature, they want securitization for P&M because securitization gives P&M a lower bond percentage, or a higher bond rating, so they get a better deal when they go out to market for it, which will save P&M customers money, the ratepayers. Because they're closing the plant, they've tried to work in here money for economic development, workforce training here in San Juan County, but who's controlling that money? That's been the question from the very beginning: is who's going to tell us what we can and can't do?
That was something Mr. Unzicker mentioned yesterday, was that it may be more controlled by the state and not the local entities.
Well, and we know it will be, right? We know it will be. And the concern, of course, is let's say, for example, we get a project where a petrochemical company wants to come to Farmington and the state is on this no carbon energy, and there's no money that's provided for economic development for those kind of jobs, and those are high-paying jobs. So if the state has control of that, there's no telling what strings they will attach to it that we can't pull. Then, of course, they had talked about replacement power being built in Central Consolidated School District to replace the property taxes that would be lost at the closure of the plant. Well, there's even giant loopholes built into that doesn't guarantee that any replacement power. It can simply just be say that maybe we get a priority on that. But if you're a company, you're trying to make the best deal for your ratepayers and for yourself and for your shareholders, if building it in San Juan County is not something that's going to be beneficial to those people, then you probably don't want to do that. And unless it's dealing with grid stability, but I'm pretty sure that once electrons hit into the grid, those are electrons, whether they came from San Juan County or they come from Los Lunas. So it's just there's not a whole lot guaranteed built into this. That's our concern. They came to the table and said, we're going to give you these things, but clearly in the language that exists as it is right now, which we are working on, and they have asked us to come to the table, and they've asked us for feedback.
Which is good. That's a positive, is it not?
Well, they've been asking me since March of 2018, Mayor, what do you want? And so from the very beginning, we've been very clear with what we want. We want extension of the plant. This plant was built to last until 2053. We want the 1,500 jobs. We want to keep families in our community. That's what we want. And unfortunately, that's not what they want. They want to see this plant closed permanently, and they being, the environmentalists, want it closed completely. Right. There's a push, of course, across America to close coal power plants down. Right. But beyond that, I mean, that's who's pushing that side of it. So we see this as it's still a valuable asset for the state. It's a valuable asset for our area. There are 3 coal plants in northwest New Mexico, from Grants up to APS, and of course San Juan. And we still feel that it's a place that could operate and provide jobs and economic opportunity for families.
And that's part of the other stuff that I read about that are in some of these pieces of legislation, is that even though PNM has made it very clear they want to get out of the coal power business, what would keep another operator from moving in if they can make it economically viable? But there are some things in some of these bills that would maybe make that prohibitive.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what you're concerned about too, right?
Yeah, right. Page 80, I think, is what keeps getting talked about on this thing. And,
right.
And in that, and what we'd asked for when they said, Mayor, what do you want? If we create this bill, what do you want? Well, we want replacement power guaranteed. We want economic development cash. But we also want the ability for that plant to continue operating.
As a plant, as a power plant, not as a
as a power
parking
plant.
lot.
Right, as a power plant.
Yeah.
And a mine. And so we just keep reiterating this need for jobs and extension, and we are part owner of the plant, which gives us the right, the contractual right to market the plant and find another owner.
The city of Farmington Electric Utility is a part owner of one of those stacks at
43
the,
megawatts
at the
we own coming out of that facility, and so we have the right to market it and find a buyer. And if the state steps in and they take that right away from us, well, that's in violation of the contract. That's opportunity for lawsuits. We don't know whether or not that would be a fruitful lawsuit or not for us. But the fact is that we do have potential buyers sitting right now on the sideline, watching all of this take shape, and we are hopeful that we'll find somebody who's going to stick. And this does not occur in the state legislature where they put emission standards on there that are going to kill the power plant. The language in this particular bill deals directly with San Juan Generating Station, not with the other two coal-fired power plants in New Mexico. It's directed at the closure of this plant,
right?
Not the other two.
No.
So those things are very concerning to us. Look, the amount of emissions coming out of San Juan Generating Station. This is the cleanest burning coal plant in America, and it's a value. It still has a lot of value built into it. And I want to be clear for anybody listening to this. This is not an argument about coal versus renewable energy. This is not that argument at all. If there was a company who came in, let's say PNM pivoted and they started running a biochemical company and it was going to create 1,500 jobs, well, fine, then all right, close the coal plant down. But in 2013, before 2017, we had worked hand in hand with PNM to put in the BART technology that was going to extend the life of the plant, and we worked hard with them on it. And we got that through. We had no concerns that it wouldn't be open for at least another 30 years. And in 4 years' time, that all turned around.
Right.
So it's right. I don't want to play the victim, which is why we have done what we've done here in the city of Farmington, is to say, look, we need to come together. Everybody needs to understand that there's got to be some economic diversification that we can all believe in. And we created the CTED fund for that very reason. We're trying to find some catalyst projects that will actually bring businesses here. And that's, man, it may be just a toss in the wind that some of these things don't necessarily stick or don't create the jobs we want them to create. But if we don't try, then what are we doing? We're sitting around and we're waiting.
Right.
And we're going to end up like, and there's other cities in the state that are a great example of what's happened when those power plants dry up and things go away.
Sure. Well, and there's a lot of conversations happening around Page, Arizona right now with their power plant too. Same type of situation. And so it seems like it's really about jobs.
It's all about jobs.
When I hear you talk.
And this is, it's interesting.
And there's been no proposal to replace a one-to-one job replacement
because
plan.
It takes private businesses to do that. Government's not doing that. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing with anything dealing with jobs. We need private industry to invest. And right now the state's not a great place for private industry to invest. Within this bill, let's think about this for a second. Maybe you and Warren talked about this. But if PNM gets securitization, that's $375 million that they're going to get that they weren't getting from the Public Regulation Commission, because the Public Regulation Commission is where the other battle is being fought, and that's why we went to Santa Fe to begin with, was to be there for the hearings where these 4 or 5 commissioners up there said, we want to hold PNM accountable. They need to file the abandonment paperwork so that we can start this process, so we can start having public hearings. And we want to talk about what Farmington has concerns about. And one of the commissioners may have just been playing it up for us because we were there that day, but she made the statement, we may not want to close this power plant down. And so you hear these things
because of the economic
impacts.
Ripple effects.
That's right.
In these neighboring communities, right?
It's not just what's going to happen up here. P&M's going to have the ability, based on law, right? Look, they can only do what the state tells them to do. And if the state tells them that we want a 50% renewable portfolio standard by whatever it is, 2045 or 2035, that means P&M, who is basically a monopoly of some sorts here in the state. I mean, there are other producers, they're smaller, but P&M has to go out now and they have to build renewable power. So they're going to build solar, they're going to build wind down in the south. Well, who's going to pay for that? Well, the ratepayers have to pay for that. So the ratepayers are going to be holding that bill. Then they have to provide the backup power. And so far as I know at this point, batteries are not ready for utility scale. They're very, very expensive. It'd be a huge investment.
Right. When there's no sun, no wind, what do you do?
Yeah. So you got to have 100% backup of all that renewable power. So now they're going to have to go build gas power plants, which is where this idea of replacing that power here in San Juan County comes in, because they're going to have to build it.
Right.
So who holds the bill for that? Well, P&M customers hold the bill for that. So P&M has said that those bills are going to go up, but if you look at California, their bills went up 60%. So I live in a state where 49% or 40+% of my population is on Medicaid. They're on some sort of welfare assistance. And now we're telling us that their rates are going to go up 60%. On top of that, what's in this bill, we thought that they would be kind of segmenting out the industry, the big industry power users. Because again, you want to be enticing for companies to come in and create jobs. And if you're going to increase 60% rates for big industrial users, those people aren't going to open their businesses here. They're not going to expand here. Matter of fact, they're probably just going to pull themselves off the grid by their own generation, which you can do now.
Yeah,
we're seeing this happen, and take themselves completely off, which again just puts more pressure on the regular ratepayers, and you're going to see their prices go up. Arizona did the same. Arizona State did a study when they were considering the bill last year about setting the renewable portfolio standard.
Right.
Arizona State did it, and they anticipated that rates in Arizona would go up 100%.
Double.
Yikes. So so you hear these things, and you're like, look, man. I mean, I get everything in life is starting to cost more, but we have a motto here in Farmington Electric Utility that we're going to provide the most reliable, affordable power that we possibly can. And because we're not a publicly regulated utility, we can actually do that for our customers, which is why our electric bills are so much less than anywhere else. But if you're a solar company, you want to be in New Mexico. They need to be in New Mexico. 300 days of sunshine. I mean, the return on investment, my understanding, is because we're not as hot as Arizona. Heat's a major problem for those solar panels, and it's just too hot in Arizona. But New Mexico, you've got that perfect setting. But they're not here yet, and nobody's stopping them from coming. There's this idea that we have some opposition, that we're just hard-headed about letting solar in. Look, man, build a solar field.
Right.
But just don't have it in the same conversation where you tell me that closing a power plant with 1,500 jobs can somehow be replaced by the 30 people after construction, right? Because there is a big buildup for.
Sure, you've got a lot of people building.
But the long-term jobs that exist there, we're talking 30 people.
Right.
40 people. I don't know.
Not the same.
Not the same.
Right.
Which.
Right.
We understand. We understand that's where the world's going. Mm-hmm. Let's create a glide path to get us there. Let's give these communities that are going to be impacted this more time to diversify their economy, and let's give them some tools to do it with.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Mayor Duckett is my guest this morning, the mayor of Farmington. We're going to take a short break, Mr. Mayor. When we come back, more of our conversations about what's going on in Santa Fe, but even more of what's going on right here in the city that
we can control.
That you can control, and you have.
We're trying.
And taking some steps to do that. So we'll be back with more in just a moment with my guest here on KSJE. Everybody, the time is 8:32. This program is supported by San Juan Health Partners Urology, providing a wide range of personalized services for the whole family, including children. Our caring professionals are dedicated to helping meet your urology health needs with skill, experience, and service you need. For a complete listing of our services and to learn more, visit sanjuanhealthpartners.com or call 505-609-6300. San Juan Health Partners Urology, a division of San Juan Regional Medical Center. 8:38. KSJE, you're listening to the Scott Michlin Morning Program. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks to our viewers who are watching us on our KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. We're giving you a look earlier this morning at the the snow-covered Durango, Colorado area, where schools are, at least Fort Lewis College is under a delay this morning after some overnight snowfall. We had the rain here in Farmington, but certainly snow to our north, and it's nice to see because in the forecast we have a chance of rain or snow for the next several days. Take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of the next 10 days. And Mayor Duckett is here to agree with me.
That's the best picture I've seen all week.
Look at that, right?
I mean, that is just a great, and I hope it comes true.
Yeah.
But I know the rain yesterday was fantastic. You know, it's interesting. We saw in the Daily Times this past week, they actually did a full page about a storm that didn't bring much precipitation. It must have been a really slow day.
That's a slow day. Yeah.
At the news station.
Ouch.
When you tell a story about a storm that didn't bring much precipitation.
Right. But it brought some, which I think is the thing. And after our weather year last year, people are very thrilled to see any kind of precipitation in the mountains and even here in the valley to kind of replenish the earth and the dirt and get us out of that severe drought designation.
That's right. So we're still in exceptional drought, but snowpack right now is over 100%.
Of average.
Which is great.
Right.
We're of course, you know, David Cipher, who's our public works director, very conservative gentleman, and wants to make sure that he's built in contingencies for different scenarios. And we're still in stage 1 of drought because we're still in exceptional drought.
Right.
But let's see what May looks like for snowpack, because that's when that really matters as far as the supply that's going to be in the river, and we're going to go from there. But these, I mean, just to be able to see that much precipitation on the forecast is definitely
right.
A good thing.
And again, if it doesn't rain here but snows up north, I'm okay with that too.
I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Although my trees took a beating this past year, I'm not going to lie.
Yes, and my lawn, and yeah,
I have to chop down
what's
a couple trees.
what's left of it. But yeah. But that's okay because we're all in this together. But it's exciting to see, and I know a lot of folks were concerned if we had 2 really bad drought years in a row. That hurts.
It does
a lot,
right?
And so it's nice to be able to see maybe the lake fill back up, both Navajo and Farmington Lake, and give us that insurance policy for future years.
Yeah,
which is why they're there.
Lake Nighthorse.
Exactly. Speaking of lakes and parks, I want to ask you a bit about a park ranger plan that the City Council approved this week. Correct, just a few days ago.
So when we had talked about the Community Transformation and Economic Diversification Fund, one of the items that was in there was increased security in downtown and in our parks. Obviously, since I've been elected official, one of the biggest concerns that people present is the fact that they don't feel safe in downtown Farmington. And if we're going to do economic diversification down there, and of course we're investing a lot of money in the Downtown Complete Streets project. We've just invested a lot of money into the Civic Center remodel. So how do we change that perception? How do we create some safer areas? And Farmington Police Department brought to us a recommendation to add 6 park rangers, not full-time officers. Park rangers would fit in with the park ranger model we have now, but you're going to see them 7 days a week in downtown, at Berg Park, at Farmington Lake, at Brookhaven Park, at Brookside Park. Those were kind of the main areas. Mm-hmm. So that we're going to have that additional security in those places and allow for officers to interact with the people who are on the trails and in the parks and in downtown. And I think we'll learn more about things having those eyes on the street.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, and this is something that the police department feels they can afford to do and figure out a way to pay for it, right?
Well, this is coming out of the CTED fund. So this is coming out of the $4.4 million that we created this year. So, yes, it's coming out of the Economic Diversification Fund.
Got it. Yep. Okay. So you can pay for it.
We are paying for it.
Right.
Absolutely.
But that is the fund, and I just want to point this out to our listeners and audiences that the City Council approved as a way to raise a small percentage on gross receipts taxes to pay for some of these things that would go towards economic development, economic diversification, things like that you are now putting to use.
And we've already been able to see some of that with the, blight removal was one of those things that was also on our list of community transformation, and the old Graves Oil facility on Pinning and Miller, which had been a number of different things over the years, but it was a disaster. It was a danger for the public. It was a danger for individuals who were wanting to live and sleep in there. It was a danger to the fire department, and we managed to raise that, and
now it's gone.
And now it's gone.
Right.
And now we're looking for potential people to move into that property and use it for new things. So.
Good.
Obviously, you see all these things kind of taking shape, but
that's what that money is there for. That's the idea, right? And so residents can kind of see some results.
Is being paid out of that fund too. So our economic development director, the outdoor recreation director, Corey Styron, And I'll tell you, I mean, they're running fast into this new area. I mean, this is a brand new thing for the city of Farmington to really be focused on economic development, and it's exciting. There's some very exciting things that are coming up.
Well, and as I said before, the city has done its homework, I think, in putting its money where its mouth is to say we want to do all these things and not just say let's just do them, but also put some money to say here's some tools to help you get this accomplished.
Yeah, it's great to sit around a table with a bunch of people and do a bunch of public input sessions and talk about what you want to do and where the gaps exist that would help grow the economy, and then just sit there and go, well, who's going to pay for it? And there was nobody really paying for it on the level that it needed to be done, and so we have stepped up, and we're going to. There's a lot of information that's going to be coming out. A strategic planning session with the council will be happening here soon, just to talk about all the different the projects and their ability to bring people to Farmington.
Right.
That's what this is all about. Creating the environment where people want to live, work, play, and stay. That's the mission. So it's exciting to be able to have that fund there. And I said this the other night. Public Land Solutions is trying to develop some trails, world-class trails for mountain biking and off-roading, things that we could market outwardly to bring people here. And to sit in a room where you've recognized these are fresh faces now that are coming out for some of these public meetings.
Nice.
It was
not the same old people.
It was the same people for a lot of the stuff for the first few years for Ori. This meeting was different. And we had 100 people come out over 2 days to these public meetings, and a lot of faces I had never seen before. One particular gentleman who I appreciated, he was like, man, I just can't believe that we're doing this. I can't believe that we're really trying now. And I love that. I love that we've been a component of change and positivity, and regardless of all those things that go on in Santa Fe, this is just a rough time to be a mayor in Northwest New Mexico. So forgive me for my doom and gloom earlier. We got to be forward thinking, we got to be forward looking, and we got to be carrying our community with us. But our community is now starting to carry itself. And I think that's going to be the big shift here when you start seeing 501c3s pop up that are raising private funds to invest in ARC studies out on the BLM and signage and things that are going to, maps and things that are actually start helping people jolt their journeys, but give what is the jolt?
Right.
It needs to be there. And these groups are bringing us a lot of great information. I couldn't be happier.
Very exciting, Mayor. Yeah. And the last topic I want to ask you about before we run out of time, we have about maybe 5 minutes left, is something that is kind of breaking news, which is news about our airport.
Yeah, so
in the city of Farmington.
So people know. I mean, obviously, we've been working. Mike Lewis, who's airport manager of the year, by the way, of an airport without a commercial airliner in it. Mike has been diligently working, even when Great Lakes was here, of trying to provide other air service in and out of the airport. And of course, with the FAA rules that happened 4 or 5 years ago that ended up
different regulations now, so that's why we don't
facilitating the pilot shortage, which is what killed regional airlines all across the country, and a number of regional airports didn't make it. But where we needed to be was an extension of our runway improvements that would allow them to fly in regional jets in and out of Farmington. And the FAA approved our plan. The engineers just came back and gave us the timeline. We're sitting at the doorstep of the FAA. We could very well have the runway improvements done by December of this year.
2019.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is
10 months away.
Right. Which is a I don't know.
It's ahead of schedule, wasn't it?
2 years ahead of schedule.
What you're thinking.
So if that could happen, SkyWest, who signed a memo of understanding with us that if we got that stuff done, they would be flying out of here. This is big news.
So this would pave the way, forgive my saying that, for the resumption of commercial air service in and out of Farmington.
Correct.
Once these runway improvements are done, that's what has to happen first.
Correct. And there's a lot of people out there who make the comment to say, well, we really don't need to. We can go to Durango. But we do. We really need to. For the fact is that it makes the competition between us and Durango, it drives prices down. It makes it a competitive environment. And frankly, if we want to be a retirement community, we need to be able to fly into Farmington. That's what those families want. They want to be able to fly in here, be able to have their families fly in here. And I realize Durango's only 45 minutes away, and maybe we've been spoiled all these years, which is interesting because there's a lot of state legislators who still think that Farmington is spoiled up here because we have a beautiful college and we have a beautiful hospital, and which we do.
Right.
These are absolutely blessings to have in our communities, because a lot of New Mexico communities don't. But you know what? We also have an airport with a tower that has been a training ground for Mesa Airlines, and we want to see those types of activities come back here. I mean, that's what it was built for.
Sure. Well, and of course you've got, private aviation, and that's a great thing for them, but the commercial aviation certainly is an economic driver for any community that has it or doesn't have it.
Right.
And that's what you find.
That's exactly what we find.
And even if you got an airport 45 minutes away, it's still nice to have one in your town.
And we're not subsidizing that either. We didn't subsidize Great Lakes.
Right.
A lot of these regional airlines are being subsidized by the federal government. None who've operated here have been subsidized. So it's not at the expense of the taxpayers per se that those businesses here exist. They're existing in the free market in a place where they can make money, and this by their choice.
Well, that's exciting news. So we'll hope that happens in the next 10 months as you predict.
Well, that was the memo I got the other night.
Okay.
So breaking news.
Alrighty.
Don't hold my feet to the fire if next month it's different. But it's positive. It's a positive thing, and we're going to carry that forward.
Is moving in the right direction.
That's right.
And that's what needs to happen. So
correct.
Mayor, it's always a pleasure to catch you for just a moment to visit with you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful Friday morning in Farmington. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Very good. Have a good day, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being here. Mayor Nate Duckett, Mayor of Farmington, my guest here on KSJE. And back with more in just a moment, everyone. Back with more coming up. The time is 8:50. 8:54, KSJE. It's Friday morning. And on Fridays at this time, we check in with Wally D with Wally D Sports to bring us up to date a little bit on what's going on sports-wise with prep sports in the county. Wally, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I am good. Thanks for joining us. I should say Wally's on the phone this morning from his hidden bunker radio studio where he is joining us from. So what's been going on? There was an exciting game you were telling me earlier this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was. We had a great game that was on Tuesday night for the Piedra Vista boys and the West Mesa Mustangs. And, of course, if PV wins the game, they secure their third seed in the district, which means they'll probably get a home game during the district tournament. Okay,
so this is an important game.
So this is an important game, yeah, because regardless of how they finish out the last two games of the season, they win this game, then they're more than likely going to get a home game.
And so this was kind of right down to the end, right? West Mesa was leading. They were up by 2, were they not?
Well, they actually, with 20 seconds to go, I mean, I honestly thought the game was over because West Mesa was up by 4.
Okay.
But, I mean, still 20 seconds, that's a lot of time. And Piedra Vista was able to go down, hit a couple of free throws to cut it to 2, and then they fouled someone and sent them to the line. They missed the free throw. So I think we got a cut that happens from there on.
We do
to the end of the game. So they were down by 2 with, I believe, 6 seconds to go in the game.
And you were there, and you made the call, and it sounds like you've mostly recovered. But this was a pretty exciting moment for you and for your other radio listeners. So let's play this real quick. This was the call as PV and West Mesa went into the final seconds here. Let me get it here queued up.
They trail by 2. We're ready to go. Van Onsen ready to inbound the ball for the Panthers. He'll get it into Reed. To Van Onsen. Van Onsen dribbling up quickly. Right side to Payne. Payne puts up the three-pointer. Backboard. It's good! It's good! It's good! Isaiah Payne. Isaac Payne drops it in at the buzzer. Oh, my goodness. It was contested, and he turned around and threw it up. It went off the backboard and went in, and the Piedra Vista Panthers win 60-59. Can you believe it? Oh, my goodness. What an amazing game. It looked like it was all for naught for the PV Panthers. And they'll secure their third position, third spot in the district as they pull off their miracle shot. Isaac Payne got the ball, had a defender on him, and just turned around and threw the ball up. And it went off the backboard and went in at the buzzer. Panthers win 60-59 over the West Mesa Mustangs.
What an amazing night, Wally D. And so talk to me a little bit about that. Just amazing, right? That happened.
Yeah, It is, and it is kind of amazing that I still have my voice, because it seems like here over the last couple of weeks we've had 2 or 3 games that have pretty much gone down to the wire, and of course it's just such a honor and joy to get to be able to broadcast our local teams, and I guess I get so much into it that it's kind of an emotional rush, I guess you could say.
Right. Exactly. And so with that excitement, that was not the only big game held this week, correct? Or what's coming up too this weekend, right?
Well, yeah, we've got games this weekend. I was just looking here at my schedule. Oh, the Farmington boys host West Mesa, which Farmington's still looking. They're still looking for the first win in district, and I expect a really good game against West Mesa. And just to let the listeners know, if you want to go to a good game, they've actually moved this game to Piedra Vista on Saturday at 2:30. So it won't be at Farmington High School, but it'll be at Piedra Vista. And it should be a fun game. I'll be broadcasting that game, and then the following week you got Piedra Vista girls hosting La Cueva. Piedra Vista girls really sealing, trying to seal that number 1 spot, and they're really close to doing it. I think if they win, defeat La Cueva on Tuesday night, they'll get the number 1 spot. So that means they'll host all the way through the tournament, the district tournament coming up the following week. And then the exciting games that come up Friday and Saturday.
Right.
TV on Friday, and then Piedra Vista boys hosting Farmington on that Saturday. Of course, that's all week from today and tomorrow. All
right. Well, we'll be watching. Wally, thanks so much, and we'll have you here next week to bring us up to speed on how those games turn out.
We definitely will. Will.
All right. Very good. Wally, thanks so much for joining us. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Scott. You too.
All right. Will do. That's Wally D from Wally D Sports. He joins us every Friday to set me straight on prep sports and bring us up to speed on all the rest of the teams and how our local teams are doing, and is certainly sharing some of these exciting play-by-play clips with us as well. We appreciate that, and we appreciate that from American General Media to be able to share that with you this morning. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin. It's been great having you with me this morning. And don't forget, coming up today at noon, it's our Friday Spotlight program, and my guest is Thomas Heuser, the music director of the San Juan Symphony. He'll be talking with me about the upcoming San Juan Symphony concerts next weekend in both Farmington and Durango. So we hope you'll join us there at noon. You can also watch that program from our visual radio studio by going to the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. So we hope you will do that as well. Back with you Monday morning here at 8 o'clock on KSJE Farmington. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.